Why is a lack of patent protection a challenge in drug repurposing? A. It increases drug availability. B. It reduces potential profits for companies. C. It speeds up the approval process. D. It attracts more researchers to the field. The correct answer is B. Without patent protection, companies may be less inclined to invest in repurposing drugs due to limited potential for financial gain. Which of the following statements is true about repurposing drugs for new indications? A. It requires FDA approval for each new use. B. It is a quick and inexpensive process. C. It involves testing existing drugs for new therapeutic benefits. D. It is mainly driven by pharmaceutical companies. The correct answer is C. Repurposing drugs involves investigating existing drugs for new uses based on their known mechanisms of action. What role does off-label drug use play in repurposing drugs? A. It helps avoid the need for clinical trials. B. It is essential for gaining FDA approval. C. It allows doctors to prescribe drugs for unapproved uses. D. It speeds up the drug development process. The correct answer is C. Off-label use means prescribing approved drugs for purposes not listed on their FDA label. This can sometimes lead to finding new uses for these drugs. How can limited understanding of drug mechanisms hinder drug repurposing efforts? A. It may slow down the identification of new indications. B. It reduces the importance of clinical trials. C. It simplifies the drug development process. D. It encourages pharmaceutical companies to invest more. The correct answer is A. Without a clear understanding of how a drug works, researchers may struggle to identify potential new uses for that drug. What is a potential advantage of repurposing drugs over developing new drugs from scratch? A. Lower development costs. B. Faster approval process. C. Higher potential for blockbuster drugs. D. Guaranteed success in clinical trials. The correct answer is A. Repurposing existing drugs can be more cost-effective than developing new drugs, because some safety and efficacy data may already be available. Why is involving many stakeholders important in drug repurposing? A. To ensure rapid FDA approval. B. To increase competition among pharmaceutical companies. C. To share resources and expertise. D. To limit the number of potential repurposed drugs. The correct answer is C. Involving multiple stakeholders, such as researchers, clinicians, and industry partners, allows for a collaborative approach to drug repurposing, leveraging diverse expertise and resources. What are some ethical considerations in drug repurposing efforts? Ensuring patient safety and informed consent. Maximizing profit for pharmaceutical companies. Speeding up the drug approval process. Excluding patient populations from trials. The correct answer is A. Ethical considerations in drug repurposing include prioritizing patient safety, obtaining informed consent, ensuring the equitable distribution of benefits. How can regulatory challenges impact drug repurposing initiatives? A. By reducing the need for FDA oversight. B. By slowing down the approval process. C. By encouraging off-label use. D. By accelerating clinical trials. The correct answer is B. Navigating regulatory requirements for repurposed drugs, such as demonstrating safety and efficacy for new indications, can introduce delays in the approval process. What is the importance of real-world evidence in supporting drug repurposing efforts? A. It replaces the need for clinical trials. B. It provides insights into drug effectiveness in clinical practice. C. It limits the need for regulatory approvals. D. It decreases the need for collaboration with healthcare providers. The correct answer is B. Real-world evidence, from patient data in clinical practice, offers valuable insights into repurposed drug effectiveness outside controlled clinical trials. How can safety and efficacy data from clinical trials impact drug repurposing efforts? A. It is not relevant for drug repurposing. B. It can accelerate the repurposing process. C. It often delays drug repurposing. D. It has no impact on repurposing. The correct answer is B. Safety and efficacy data from previous clinical trials can help accelerate the process of drug repurposing by providing valuable information on the drug's effects and potential in a new indication. Why is identifying the right patient population crucial for successful drug repurposing? A. It is not important for drug repurposing. B. To ensure the drug's safety and effectiveness in the new indication. C. To exclude potential patients from accessing the repurposed drug. D. To increase costs associated with repurposing efforts. The correct answer is B. Identifying the right patient population is crucial for successful drug repurposing. This ensures the drug is safe and effective in its new indication, maximizing its benefits. What is one challenge associated with repurposing drugs that have already failed clinical trials for their original purpose? A. They cannot be repurposed. B. The stigma associated with previous failures. C. They are automatically approved for repurposing. D. They have higher success rates in repurposing. The correct answer is B. One challenge with repurposing failed drugs is the stigma from past failures. This can hurt repurposing efforts. How can repurposing drugs for rare diseases pose unique challenges compared to more common conditions? A. It's easier to find patients for rare diseases. B. There's more funding available for rare diseases. C. Limited patient populations and a lack of research make repurposing difficult. D. Repurposing drugs for rare diseases isn't possible. The correct answer is C. Repurposing drugs for rare diseases can pose unique challenges. Due to limited patient populations and a lack of research, it's difficult to find suitable candidates and evaluate the drug's efficacy in those conditions. In drug repurposing, how can multiple formulations of the same drug complicate things? A. It does not complicate the process. B. It provides more options for repurposing. C. Differences in formulations can affect bioavailability and efficacy. D. Multiple formulations always have the same effects. The correct answer is C. The presence of multiple formulations of the same drug can complicate the repurposing process. Due to potential differences in bioavailability and efficacy, careful consideration and evaluation are required for the new indication. How can a lack of financial incentives hinder drug repurposing, especially for older drugs without patent protection? A. It does not impact drug repurposing. B. It can discourage investment in repurposing older drugs. C. Financial incentives are not relevant for repurposing efforts. D. Older drugs without patent protection have higher financial incentives. The correct answer is B. The lack of financial incentives, especially for older drugs without patent protection, can hinder drug repurposing efforts. This is because limited potential for financial returns discourages investment in repurposing initiatives. Why consider the regulatory landscape when planning drug repurposing? A. Regulatory considerations have no impact on drug repurposing. B. Regulatory approval is not needed for repurposing drugs. C. Compliance with regulations ensures safe and legal repurposing. D. Regulatory landscape does not change for repurposing efforts. The correct answer is C. considering the regulatory landscape is crucial in drug repurposing initiatives. This ensures compliance with regulations, essential for the safe and legal repurposing of drugs for new indications. How does the involvement of patient advocacy groups benefit drug repurposing initiatives? A. It has no impact on drug repurposing. B. Patient advocacy groups can provide valuable insights and support. C. Patient advocacy groups hinder drug repurposing efforts. D. Patient advocacy groups focus solely on drug development. The correct answer is B. The involvement of patient advocacy groups can benefit drug repurposing initiatives by providing valuable insights, supporting the identification of unmet needs, and advocating for repurposing efforts in specific patient populations. Why is it important to involve academic institutions in drug repurposing collaborations? A. Academic institutions do not contribute to drug repurposing. B. They provide access to research expertise and resources. C. They are not interested in repurposing efforts. D. Academic collaboration delays drug repurposing. The correct answer is B. Less than break time equals 1s greater than. Involving academic institutions in drug repurposing collaborations is important because they offer research expertise, resources, and innovative approaches that can boost the success of repurposing efforts. What role do computational methods play in overcoming drug repurposing challenges? A. Identifying potential new uses of existing drugs. B. Conducting clinical trials for new drug candidates. C. Securing patent protection for repurposed drugs. D. Manufacturing generic versions of repurposed drugs. The correct answer is A. Computational methods help identify potential new indications for existing drugs, reducing the time and cost of drug repurposing efforts. Why does conflicting or inconclusive data challenge drug repurposing? A. It delays regulatory approval. B. It increases the risk of patient side effects. C. It hinders decisions on new drug uses. D. It discourages pharmaceutical investment in repurposing. The correct answer is C. Conflicting or inconclusive data can make it difficult to make informed decisions about repurposing a drug for a new indication, slowing down the process. How can inconsistent drug repurposing study methods affect how we trust the results and compare different studies? A. It can lead to unreliable and conflicting findings. B. It allows for customized studies of each drug. C. It doesn't speed up the process. D. It doesn't reduce regulatory needs. The correct answer is A. Without standardized protocols, the results of drug repurposing studies may vary, making it challenging to compare outcomes and draw reliable conclusions. What's a common intellectual property issue that slows down drug repurposing? A. Delayed access to clinical trial data. B. High costs of patent applications. C. Legal limits on off-label drug use. D. Competing ownership of repurposed drugs. The correct answer is B. High costs associated with obtaining or maintaining patent protection for repurposed drugs can impede drug repurposing efforts, especially for medications without patent protection. How can inconsistent drug descriptions affect drug repurposing research and teamwork? A. It encourages cross-institutional communication and data sharing. B. It facilitates the identification of potential drug candidates for repurposing. C. It leads to misinterpretations and inconsistent results. D. It streamlines the regulatory approval process for repurposed drugs. The correct answer is C. Without standardized terminology, there can be misinterpretation of drug characteristics and actions, leading to inconsistent outcomes and hindering drug repurposing research and collaborations. How does pharmacogenomics help overcome the differences between patients in drug repurposing? A. It standardizes drug doses. B. It predicts how individuals will respond based on their genes. C. It speeds up clinical trials in diverse groups. D. It reduces the need for new approvals. The correct answer is B. Pharmacogenomics helps predict how individuals respond to repurposed drugs based on their genes. This addresses challenges from patient differences in drug repurposing. Why is considering the global regulatory landscape important when planning international drug repurposing? A. To avoid intellectual property conflicts. B. To ensure repurposed drugs meet safety and efficacy standards worldwide. C. To restrict availability to specific countries. D. To minimize the influence of patient advocacy groups. The correct answer is B. Considering the global regulatory landscape ensures that repurposed drugs meet safety and efficacy standards across different regions, facilitating international use of these medications. How can a lack of long-term follow-up data for repurposed drugs affect how we assess their safety and effectiveness for new uses? A. It speeds up approval for new uses. B. We become more reliant on stories and reports for safety checks. C. It makes it hard to spot long-term side effects and results. D. It makes sure repurposed drugs have few interactions with other medicines. The correct answer is C. Without long-term follow-up data, it's challenging to assess the safety and efficacy of repurposed drugs for new indications, especially regarding potential long-term side effects and outcomes. What impact can a lack of patient engagement and consent have on the ethical considerations of drug repurposing initiatives? A. It ensures that all patients have equal access to repurposed drugs. B. It raises concerns about patient autonomy and informed decision-making. C. It speeds up the recruitment process for repurposed drug trials. D. It minimizes the need for adverse event reporting during repurposing studies. The correct answer is B. The lack of patient engagement and consent can raise ethical concerns regarding patient autonomy and the informed decision-making process in drug repurposing initiatives. How can collaborations with specialized research centers or academic institutions strengthen drug repurposing efforts compared to doing it all in-house? A. They increase the reliance on proprietary data for repurposing decisions. B. They lead to faster regulatory approval of repurposed drugs. C. They provide access to specialized expertise and resources for drug screening and validation. D. They decrease the transparency and reproducibility of repurposing studies. The correct answer is C. Collaborations with specialized research centers or academic institutions can strengthen drug repurposing efforts. By providing access to specialized expertise and resources for drug screening and validation, enhancing the quality and credibility of the research. What impact do cost considerations have on drug repurposing compared to developing new drugs? A. Costs are less significant in drug repurposing. B. Costs can hinder drug repurposing. C. Costs are similar for both. D. Costs only affect new drug development. A. Costs are greater in drug repurposing. The correct answer is B. Cost considerations can hinder drug repurposing efforts. The lack of financial incentives and potential profitability can make repurposing less attractive compared to developing new drugs from scratch. Why consider the regulatory landscape when planning drug repurposing? A. To ensure patent protection. B. To address patient differences. C. To handle safety data challenges. D. To comply with off-label use regulations. A. To get approvals for new uses. The correct answer is E. Considering the regulatory landscape is necessary to ensure regulatory approvals for repurposing drugs for new indications. These approvals are essential for bringing the repurposed drug to market legally. How does pharmacogenomics help overcome the challenge of patient differences in drug repurposing? A. It helps find the right patients. B. It helps determine the correct dosage. C. It personalizes treatment. D. It helps design new drug formulations. A. It's not relevant to drug repurposing. The correct answer is C. Pharmacogenomics plays a crucial role in drug repurposing. It helps personalize treatment based on genetic variations, thus addressing challenges related to patient heterogeneity. How can teaming up with specialized research centers or universities boost drug repurposing, compared to doing it all in-house at a pharmaceutical company? A. They provide access to patent protection. B. They offer a wider range of patients. C. They enhance access to funding. D. They bring diverse skills and resources. A. They can make the regulatory process smoother. The correct answer is D. Collaborating with specialized research centers or academic institutions enhances drug repurposing efforts. This is because it brings diverse expertise, resources, and perspectives to the project, leading to more successful outcomes. How does a lack of financial incentives affect drug repurposing, especially for older drugs without patent protection? A. It speeds up the repurposing process. B. It encourages pharmaceutical companies to invest in repurposing. C. It hinders research on older drugs. D. It promotes collaborations with academic institutions. The correct answer is C. The lack of financial incentives, particularly for older drugs without patent protection, can hinder drug repurposing efforts. There may be less motivation for companies to invest in repurposing research. How does pharmacogenomics help overcome the differences between patients in drug repurposing? A. Predicting drug responses based on genetics. B. Ensuring regulatory compliance. C. Accessing global markets. D. Investigating off-label uses. The correct answer is A. Pharmacogenomics can help predict how a patient will respond to a repurposed drug based on their genetic makeup, addressing challenges related to patient heterogeneity. How can teaming up with research centers or universities boost drug repurposing, compared to going it alone? A. Speed up approvals. B. Increase financial incentives. C. Provide access to a wider range of skills and resources. D. Lead to fewer ethical concerns. The correct answer is C. Collaborating with specialized research centers or academic institutions can strengthen drug repurposing efforts. By providing access to diverse expertise, resources, and knowledge that may not be available within a pharmaceutical company. Why is it essential to consider the global regulatory landscape when planning drug repurposing initiatives aiming for international use? A. To avoid patent infringement issues. B. To expedite the approval process. C. To ensure compliance with differing regulations. D. To increase financial incentives. The correct answer is C. Considering the global regulatory landscape is crucial to ensure compliance with varying regulations across different countries. This is important for drug repurposing initiatives aiming for international use. What impact can a lack of patient engagement and consent have on the ethics of drug repurposing? A. Facilitates regulatory approvals. B. Enhances data collection processes. C. Raises ethical concerns about patient autonomy. D. Reduces costs for repurposing projects. The correct answer is C. The lack of patient engagement and consent raises ethical concerns about patient autonomy in drug repurposing initiatives, impacting the ethical considerations surrounding these projects. How can inconsistent drug descriptions affect drug repurposing research and teamwork? A. Facilitates data sharing among stakeholders. B. Increases patient engagement in repurposing studies. C. Hinders effective communication and collaboration. D. Promotes off-label drug use. The correct answer is C. The lack of standardized terminology can hinder effective communication and collaboration in drug repurposing research and collaborations, making it challenging for stakeholders to understand and interpret findings consistently. What role do computational methods play in overcoming drug repurposing challenges? A. Ensuring patient engagement in drug trials. B. Predicting potential drug interactions. C. Improving regulatory approvals. D. Expediting patent processes. The correct answer is B. Computational methods can help predict potential drug interactions. This is essential in overcoming drug repurposing challenges related to safety and efficacy. How can a lack of long-term follow-up data on repurposed drugs affect how we assess their safety and effectiveness for new uses? A. Promotes off-label use. B. Impairs judgment on drug effectiveness. C. Ensures regulatory compliance. D. Reduces costs for repurposing projects. The correct answer is B. The lack of long-term follow-up data can impair the assessment of a repurposed drug's long-term safety and efficacy for new indications. This is because it limits the ability to make informed judgments on its effectiveness over time. What challenge is associated with repurposing drugs that failed previous clinical trials? A. Limited understanding of drug mechanisms. B. High financial incentives. C. Regulatory expedited approvals. D. Overcoming negative perceptions and biases. The correct answer is D. One challenge associated with repurposing drugs that have failed in clinical trials for their original indication is overcoming negative perceptions and biases that may exist due to the drug's previous lack of success. What is a potential limitation of repurposing drugs for new indications, based on the lack of available clinical trial data? A. Limited safety profile data. B. Lack of pharmacokinetic information. C. Unknown drug interactions. D. Limited efficacy data. The correct answer is B. The lack of available pharmacokinetic information can be a challenge when repurposing drugs for new indications, since the drug's behavior in the body may not be well understood for the new condition. How can lack of funding impact drug repurposing, compared to developing new drugs? A. Limited access to existing drug libraries. B. Reduced research team motivation. C. Inability to conduct necessary clinical trials. D. Decreased regulatory hurdles. The correct answer is C. The lack of funding can hinder drug repurposing initiatives by limiting the ability to conduct necessary clinical trials to validate the repurposing potential of a drug for a new indication. What role can real-world evidence play in overcoming challenges in drug repurposing efforts? A. Supporting regulatory approval. B. Enhancing patent protection. C. Identifying novel drug targets. D. Facilitating clinical trial recruitment. The correct answer is A. Real-world evidence can support the regulatory approval process for repurposed drugs by providing additional data on their safety and efficacy in real-world settings. How can patient recruitment for clinical trials be challenging in drug repurposing, compared to developing new drugs? A. Lack of interest in repurposed drugs. B. Limited awareness of repurposing trials. C. Difficulty determining dosages for repurposed drugs. D. Higher regulatory requirements for repurposed treatments. The correct answer is B. Patient recruitment for repurposing trials can be challenging due to limited awareness among potential participants about trials investigating the new use of existing drugs. What impact can a lack of specialized expertise in repurposing drug mechanisms have on the success of drug repurposing initiatives? A. Increased risk of adverse events. B. Reduced likelihood of identifying new indications. C. Delayed regulatory approval process. D. Lower patient interest in repurposed drugs. The correct answer is B. The lack of specialized expertise in understanding and identifying new indications for repurposed drugs can reduce the success rate of drug repurposing initiatives.